Constant Gentle Pressure comes from the book Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. Danny Meyer is actually from St. Louis. He's an extremely successful restaurateur, and he's had all these successful restaurants in New York, and he talks about this idea of constant gentle pressure as kind of like a leadership technique or strategy. And the whole idea, and again, this is looking at it through the lens of a restaurant, the whole idea is that in a fancy restaurant, the table should be set up a specific way. Everything should have an exact place to where it goes. And so he uses a salt shaker, and he's like, the salt shaker goes right here on the corner of the table or on the middle of the table, wherever it is. So the salt shaker goes in the middle of the table. What happens is you turn over the table, and then your waiters and busboys and everyone, they reset the table, and then they're like, okay, yep, they set up the salt shaker there. And his job as a leader is to say, no, the salt shaker goes here. And then they reset the table again, and usually, it's like it ends up right there. And to a lot of people, they'd be like, well, no, it's the salt shaker's in the center of the table. And he's like, no, it goes right here. And your job as leaders is to constantly move the salt shaker back to the center of the table. The center of the table representing the core things that we need to do in order to be excellent in running the gyms every day and in order to run an excellent business. So in doing this, he calls this constant gentle pressure. And so the constant gentle pressure, there's three pieces to that. So one, it has to be constant. We have to constantly remind our teams, no, the salt shaker goes here. We have to constantly remind our teams, hey, make sure we're executing our 7 steps or 7 core tenets. Hey, make sure we're greeting clients with a smile. Hey, make sure we're introducing clients to one another. Make sure we're providing constant coaching cues. Make sure we're picking up the equipment off the floor so no one trips and it looks clean and organized. We have to make sure we're texting 5 people a day. Make sure we're calling leads. All these, we have to constantly remind our teams to do the things that we need to do. We have to do it constantly because we're all humans, we're all flawed, we all get distracted, myself included. We all need to be constantly reminded to do the things we're going to do. Gentle is important because if we just freak out and yell and snap on people, well, they're going to get burnt out or just quit or get angry. So we have to be gentle about it. We can't. We have to be constant, but we also have to be gentle. We have to understand, again, we're all humans, so we can't just flip out on people. And then the pressure is just this idea that it's always reminding people hey, this is why we do things. We do things this way because we want to be excellent. We want to be great. And this is what we've seen that it takes in order to be excellent and great. So again, this idea of constant gentle pressure is just constantly reminding, being polite about it, but constantly putting pressure on hey, we want the salt shaker here, not here. We want the salt shaker here. So we're always moving the salt shaker, always going back to the core beliefs and things that we need to execute in order to be great. Same thing applies with all of our leaders in our organization. That's why you hear me constantly hey, we need to make 100 calls a week. Where's our 5 hours planning? We need to do this thing. We need to do this thing. It's because it's all about just providing constant gentle pressure, giving those constant reminders, again, being polite about it. Be like, this is what we do. This is how we do things here. And it's extremely important to execute those things. And in order to do so, myself included, we all need reminders in order to execute them. So that is the idea of constant gentle pressure.